You know, it's not very easy to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Our next guest is in. Please welcome from Cheap Trick, Rick Nielsen.
Hey.
Hey, Rick.
How you doing?
Hi.
Doing great. I want to start off and show you, go down nostalgia lane. I've got a couple things to show. Cheap Trick Show and Tell.
Uh-oh.
I'm a huge fan. So here's first. We're going to go back to 1982, Corpus Christi, Texas. And there's my stub from my Cheap Trick show. So that was at that gross Memorial Coliseum.
What year is that? It's kind of blurry.
1982.
Wow.
Cool.
And then here's my, let's see if it focuses on this. Of course, I was up in the front row.
Hey, well, I want that pick back. Come on.
So I have my pick. And at these concerts, the big deal was if you could get Rick's bow tie. And look who caught the bow tie that night.
My God.
No way.
I mean, I had a serious Cheap Trick kind of night.
I tell you.
Wow.
I wasn't trying to pick you up either.
I know. I need to start wearing this during the show, but it's held up 37, 38 years. It's just a little off black now.
Yeah, well, it's that's cool. I think we sold them for $4 a piece back then, and now
that was yours.
Yeah, well, those were $4.25. Yeah,
You guys have had just such an amazing career, and we're all huge fans.
I got some picks for you here.
Oh, nice.
I mean, for Leslie, not for you.
I mean, Barnes is a fan because he could have sold that stuff on eBay.
Well,
He didn't.
it's like,
so
I've never.
kudos.
This is the truth. The picks I have, I've never sold a pick, and I ordered 60,000 at a time. And it's like,
wow.
Yeah, and but people are selling for a bunch. I'd probably make more money if I'd sold picks.
How many picks do you think you've gone through in your lifetime?
A lot.
Millions.
I don't know. The first 2 years that we were together, people thought my name was Fender. And then after that, I wanted the Fender mediums like that size. And I don't know. I never thought about it. But it's a bunch because when I order 60,000 at a time, and I usually order at least 2 times a year. So.
Well, in that introduction, talking about Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Rick, because definitely want to talk about the new record, but I loved watching, first of all, the introduction from Kid Rock, and it was almost like, hey, you punks, if you haven't seen, you see a live Cheap Trick show, you better be ready to call yourself a rock band. Do you remember that moment? Do you remember that night?
I do, because it wasn't rehearsed. We had no idea what he was going to say, and he was spot on. I thought it was like funny. It's like talking about yeah, you think you're this, that, the other, and then your Cheap Trick comes up. It's like, oh man, because we know a lot of these guys, and they're the guys in the bands. They come to see us all the time. And it's like, they like our band. I think because we make just the right amount of mistakes, and we don't steal their girlfriends, or so that's part of the deal. And when he was up there saying it was like I was, I don't like to smile because my dimples show too much, but it's like, but when he was up there doing it, it was so cool. Yeah. And Barnes, back to you. What else did you get that night?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got one of your guitars. I know you're down to
hey,
like
wait a minute.
6,000.
That's where that went.
Yeah, 6,000. When you were opening, we consider ourselves, and we always say we're a baby podcast. We're like playing clubs because of our audience. We have like 12 people and maybe that listen. When you guys were opening for bands like Kiss, and back in the early days before you broke and you became the headliner, do you have any great stories from those times or things you remember, either good or bad, about some of those bands?
Cheap Trick. We always got along with everybody. It's like, and unless you were a snob, well, there are some snobs out there, but it's like, it's like we're all in this together, kind of. And we treated the headliners like they were headliners, and we didn't bring a bunch of people and geek around them and stuff. Try to leave them alone. But then after they start acknowledging us or liking us, then we wouldn't leave them alone. I remember almost every show we've done, so it's like Texas was always pretty good for us.
Oh, huge for you.
Yeah, except
Try to guess who your opener was the night that I was there in '82.
Ooh.
Aldo Nova.
Yep.
Wow.
Aldo Nova.
How about
Life is
that?
just a fantasy.
Fantasy,
Yes.
yeah.
That
yeah.
was-
Wow.
So he does remember every
Yeah,
show.
well,
That's incredible. How is your mind still so sharp? I mean, what are you drinking?
oh, what's your name? Just kidding.
Cubby.
Oh, me, no. I don't know. It's like I remember, sometimes it's like you'll ask me a question. It's like, I can't remember it. It's like something that happened 5 minutes ago. But then, I'm pretty good at pretty good memory about that stuff. Because I enjoy what I do. So it's like, it wasn't like, oh God, here we are again. It's like, oh, cool. I might not see. I'm a lousy tourist, but it's cool. I mean, the fact that anybody likes you and you're doing what you like to do, how great is that?
Yeah.
We hope to get there someday to that part.
You're doing so good so far, Barnes.
There's so many great stories that you've told throughout the years, and one I particularly wanted to ask you was about working with John Lennon, because you had worked with him on his last record, Double Fantasy. Had you met him before that? Because you got the call to play on a few songs, and it's pretty amazing.
No, I had not met him, and when we get done here, I'll send you a little video and some stuff from Yoko and stuff, and actually with Howard Stern talking about it, but. I get a call from Jack Douglas, and he wanted to fatten up the sound with John on the Double Fantasy. I don't even know if it was called Double Fantasy when we went there, because it was a work in progress. But it was like they wanted to fatten up the stuff, and they, we're not session guys. We're the guys he had, our session guys. Earl Slick, he was the guitar player on that, and he played with Bowie, and he played with John, and really good. But he's, believe it or not, he's straighter than me in the fact of being a session guy. And so it was guy to guy, musician to musician, because I called him John, and that was the day that Dax was born. And so we flew from Montreal to New York, and I smuggled in some Cuban cigars to smoke and toast, and we toasted Sean, we toasted Dax, although Dax is still pissed off at me that I wasn't there in the hospital, but my wife gave me a hall pass. But
that's one time you get a hall pass.
Yeah, I know.
John Lennon says,
if it was McCartney, I'd be at the hospital. I'm getting set up in there, the fact that we're going to work on this. We didn't even know what the songs were. We hadn't heard anything in advance. And John and Yoko walk in, and he looked at me and says, "It's you! It's you!" And I said, I think he thought I was Ricky Nelson. But then he got over that in a hurry. But it was cool because we just played. I talked guitars with him, and I talked mellotrons with him, and it was. I wasn't afraid to say anything, because obviously that hasn't happened yet in my life. And it was just cool. It was like when I was doing the solo on the song, and they were back in, because we all played together. And I came up with a riff, and they liked that, of course. And then he was telling Bunny and Jack Douglas and Yoko, he said, "God, I really like the way he's playing." He says, "I wish I would have had him on Cold Turkey, Clapton choked up."
Oh, man.
Yeah, how about that?
Whoa.
I didn't make that up.
That's a revelation.
What did he hear that made him want to invite you to play? Do you know what it was that he heard?
No, I don't know, because it was through Jack Douglas, because we'd worked with him on our first record, and then he helped mix Budokan. And we had just finished working not long before that with George Martin down in Air Studios in Montserrat, and then in Air in London. And I don't recall the order that we did these things in, but we did Everything Works If You Let It for the movie Roadie. And they wanted it based on Top of the World, the song I wrote for another Cheap Trick song. And then, so when it was like, we did that with George Martin. And I think Jack was doing something with, it was somebody else, maybe it was Aerosmith he was doing. But then he had to work with John, because he'd worked with John before. and he just wanted a heavier version. And it's like I said, I'm not a studio guy, but I play by feel.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can tell when I'm not feeling well. That was a joke.
I laughed.
I want to talk about The Flame, and I got in radio in 1988, and I was playing The Flame every 45 minutes. It was my first gig, and I was a fan of you guys way before The Flame, but The Flame, of course, is probably your biggest hit. Is it true that was a song that you guys really didn't want to do?
By the time we got to doing that song, we'd been offered by the record company and our producer and our management 10 other songs that were the one we have to do. It's like, it doesn't give you much confidence when you're a songwriter and you said, let's get some outside writers. So after 9 or 10 of these, this is it. And it's like, we'd do them because we were asked to do it. And then this one came on. It's like, by then I was like, I wasn't even listening to it. It's like, I said to our producer, I said, this thing sounds like Nature's Way by, it's like, because if you notice the intro, it is kind of like that. Well, Richie Zito, he'd played with Neil Sedaka and Elton John, and he could play every song that was ever done because he was a musicophile or whatever, in any key. And he says, "I'd never heard that." So when he said that, that was he was just trying to get around us doing it. So Robin went in, he did a great vocal, I played my part, we did it, and it was a good song. It was too bad that it was the last thing that we heard. Number one. This is the one for you. Number 2, number 3, number 5. We'd done that when we worked with Todd Rung, and the record company wanted us to do the song by the Motors, and we hated it, but we did it. He wouldn't even mix the thing, so it's like, at least he stuck to his guns. We didn't, because we did it, and like this was just, it was like, I couldn't even listen to it. Like when we do cover songs or do songs by other people, it's usually because we pick it. And, we've done Rebel, we've done Day Tripper, we've done songs by The Move, we did Terry Reid on our first album. So we've done stuff, but we can't try to do it at least we came up with the idea of doing it, of doing somebody else's thing. This wasn't, and so the record company, that's gone. Our ex-manager, that's gone. Producer, we don't work with him anymore. It's like, and we're still here. So there you go. I'm glad it hit. I felt cool. Remember after the fire, after all the rain, I will be the flame. I will be the flame.
That album is so punchy, and I think it kind of feels like your new record feels a little punchy like that. I loved that sound, and that was my college time, and that record, I listened to it over and over again.
Well,
with my bow tie on.
Well, that's it, just a bow tie? Oh, never mind. Yeah, we make records for ourselves, basically. If we're not happy with it, it's like, we got to put this junk out. It's like, so, we got to like it. And, there's always, we don't have the luxury of being like Fleetwood Mac going and do one song in a year. It's like, we do them 3 takes at the most. We're a live band, and we're a road band. So it's like, I don't think we ever heard the final mixes on any of our records, because we get done, it's like, we got to go. We're in Pittsburgh tomorrow, and whatever.
So, Rick, your 20th studio album just came out, and, I know I hate those cliche questions about longevity and bands staying together for so long. And I know Robin Zander has said, with us, it's just all about the music. Is it really just all about the music with you guys? Because, again, like, you've just put out an amazing record.
Well, we're not the most popular band around, and we're never going to be the next newest thing, and we can't dance, so it's like we just we put out stuff that we like. And then another one of my quotes is, we've never progressed. And we were pretty good when we started, but we never progressed, or we never tried to be what we weren't. We never tried to be somebody else. We didn't try to, all of a sudden, I'm going to start playing jazz. And, I like to have fun, and I like certain kinds of rock music. And, to this day, Jeff Beck was my favorite in the 60s when he was with the Yardbirds. And then travel on, 50 years later, it's like he's still my favorite. I went to his house last year, and he let me in.
When you're performing, do you still swap out guitars every song?
Every song.
And what's the main? Can you do 2 in a row with the same guitar? What's the
Why
deal?
would I do that?
Well, they're different tunings, Cubby.
I understand that,
he's got
but
his
every
guitar
song,
out.
Every song. I used to do this. It's how it started in the first place. I hated it when I go see bands play, and if the guy would break a string or be out of tune, they'd stop and fiddle around with it. So I always had guitars lined up across the front of the stage. And it's like, plus I'm a guitar collector, so it's like I like to show the junk off. And it's like, so... And I started doing that, and now I have over 500 guitars. But it's like,
wow.
But I've owned about 2,000 instruments through the years. Got rid of stuff, traded stuff, lost stuff, this, that, the other. But because I started collecting in the 60s, and bought my first Les Paul for $65 in Rockford, Illinois, at a place called the A Bookstore. It was 10 years old then. And I bought it, and I paid $65 for it. I still have it today. Because every one of them is, to me, is a work of art. And it's like some of the art's not so hot, but it's like it's the instrument. It's like, and I'm self-taught, so it's like I don't know the difference between something really good but I have an eye for it. And so yes, I do play a different. And I don't change my settings either. I'm not like it's got to be fiddled with. I use no pedals. I'm the only guy that uses no pedals at all. I have a wah-wah pedal up there that I use on one time when we do Ain't That a Shame. That's it. So I just plug in straight and just go.
What gave you the idea to start making the multi-neck guitars?
Well, I saw these other guys that... I had some Gibson double necks I had,
but I know, but not like 5.
Yeah, I know. Well, originally what I wanted to do is have a 6-neck guitar that I could spin, and then it's like a roulette wheel. And right about that time, Billy Gibbons came out and had the free guitars that spun. So I thought, well, they're going to think I'm copying him. I mean, he's worth copying, but I didn't want to do that. So I thought, what's more ridiculous than a couple guy playing a double neck, and he's got another double neck over here. I said, let's make it really ridiculous. And so I had the orange one. Hamer made it with 36 strings, and then the second one I had was a checkerboard one, and it has banjo tuners on it, and that has 36 strings. And so to be extra ridiculous, I got a 5-neck made out of Carina wood, and now it has 38 strings because I put a mandocello on one of the necks. And it used to be 2 inches taller, but it's weighed me down. It's really heavy.
Cubby, I know you have to go, so go ahead and leave. I'll just put a still frame of you looking like you're here.
Okay, yes, I'm so sorry, but I want you to talk about the MTV days, if you could, Rick, how video changed things, how and also I want to hear the best venue you ever played sound-wise. I know every room has a different sound. Every arena has a different sound. Can you quickly tell me the best rooms that you've played, sound-wise?
Cubby asks all his questions at once, and then he leaves, and then we'll talk about it.
You'll have the answer next month.
I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah. All right. See ya, Cubby.
All right.
All right. So, yeah, he makes a good point. The MTV, it really was a time that kind of changed the course of some bands' lives, and you were in the thick of that.
Well, for me, for one, I'm a terrible actor. I can't act. I can react. But it's like, it's like, here, don't look in the camera. And it's like, well, I'm like the Keystone Cops. I've been in a few movies and a bunch of TV stuff, and I can react, but I can't act. And it's like, it seems like I could. It's like I could tell jokes. I mean, I tell situation jokes, but I can't even tell a joke. It's like Tom's really good at it, and how did the MTV? It's like, well,
I mean, did you hate making the videos? That's what I'm hearing?
It was kind of fun, but it was like I was always easy. You know, look at me, I still look bad. I was never a movie star or a good-looking rock singer, and I never tried to be a guitar player that I wasn't. I never put a cucumber down my pants, you know. And I didn't need that. No, it's like I never wanted to. Although I liked other players, of course, but I never emulated. I got to be like Keith. I got to be like Eddie Van Halen. I got to, you know. It's like, I'm a songwriter, and it's like I was happy doing that. And I'm happy that I just get to play, and I get to play with really good people. So
you don't think that those MTV days, you wouldn't have cared if they just didn't happen?
Well, the time was right, I guess, but it didn't. I've seen some of the clips on there. I think we're pretty awful, and everybody. Those clips don't age well, It's like it kind of took away a lot of the mystique of music.
And they were so low definition at the time; they don't hold up well now with people on bazillion-inch TVs.
Yeah, and it's like.
But that was a great era. I mean, I remember turning on MTV and just. Oh, I like that. That's a good ringer.
Well,
who was that?
Is that your phone call? But those are my grandkids. Hi, Grumpy.
Oh, nice.
They call me Grumpy.
I love it.
And it's like, well, I didn't want to be called Grandpa because then I feel like Jed Clampett, the Beverly Hillbillies.
Grumpy. That's funny.
Yeah, because I'm not grumpy.
That's awesome.
It's like, and like I said about with Cubby, it's like I know these the kids and stuff, so I roll on the floor and pee my pants just like they do. It's like. It's a pretty neat treat, but I like to hang out with them. And the question about those videos was, yeah,
he wanted to know the best room you ever played.
Well, let me finish the MTV stuff. I mean, I did these things, and it's like I'm kind of embarrassed about it. All this stuff it just looks so dopey, and because like I said, I wasn't good at that. And look at the guys that were good. Billy Squire. He loses his career after writhing around on the floor. It's like you see almost everybody's terrible at those things. If you look back on it, it's like everything on there is like Spinal Tap. It's like overreacting, big hair, that. And I was on one time. I was smashing a guitar. I didn't even smash it very well too. It was. Yeah, whatever. Best room. Some of the House of Blues were some of the better rooms because they were set up with good PA systems. And I've never seen Cheap Trick. I'm always on stage, so it's like, but it's the ones that sound good, and you can hear yourself on stage. Because if it doesn't sound good to you on stage, it's like. I've done a couple of things where I hated it, where I'm doing using a rental amp so I can't get my own sound out of it, and it sounds like crap. If it sounds like crap to me, I don't play as good, and I think probably everybody's like that. So it's like I like a good sounding room. I've done a couple streams with Dax and Miles and my daughter-in-law. We're called the Nielsen Trust. We've done that. And it's like one room sounded really good, and then one room is like with an echo box. It's like, and then plus with no people in the place, finish the song. It's like silence. It's like, oh,
right.
Rehearsal's more fun.
I love when Cheap Trick does classic covers. You guys doing Give Me Some Truth from John Lennon that you put out on Record Store Day that's on the new record, and Rebel Rebel from Bowie. Did you have a relationship with David Bowie?
In a way, a long time ago, I lived in Philadelphia, and we recorded at Sigma Sound, which is the place that Bowie did Young Americans. So we kind of knew people that whatever. And then a bit later, somebody that we worked with ended up to be on their tour. And so I was in Milwaukee once. So it's like, and so I walk in, hey, Rick. Oh, hi, David. And actually, Bowie and myself, we were asked to do, I was going to do one side and he was going to do the other side for Ringo. And it was a project that didn't happen. I don't have the patience barely have the patience to do our stuff. But to do Ringo, and it was like, well, that's an odd combo, but okay. And then we saw each other a few times. But, it's like, unless we're playing with somebody, we rarely see anybody.
Well, especially before, COVID, you guys toured a lot.
Well, yeah, I think we've added it up. We've done more shows than any band, except...
Wow.
I think it was B.B. King probably did more. And, yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, we'd play 6 or 7 nights a week, 3 or 4 sets a night. And that's where you get your chops. That's where you learn how to bang the guitar and not how to break it, because I never did that right. Yeah, so we got our chops, had songs. Like when we did our first record, we did, I think, 26 songs in 8 days. And so, we ended up with using 11. And so, there was extra stuff. There always has been. Plus, we had places to play. They may have been awful, but we always worked. Let's work at the Jewish temple. Let's play over at somebody's wedding. We kind of cringed doing it, but we always lied too. We always told people that we did cover songs in the top 40. Okay, oh yeah, we do. And then get to the end of the night, where was the top 40? Well, yeah, we didn't. Oh yeah, if they didn't like us, they'd probably fire us or never hire us again. But if they liked us, they didn't care that we had done our own stuff.
I think there's two kinds of music fans. I think there are music fans that probably just know a band, like they know Cheap Trick, they know Van Halen, they know whatever. And then there are some that music geek out, like me, and you get into the people and what they play and what instruments they play, what type of strings they use, all that stuff. I don't know if a lot of people know that your son plays drums in the band. And when people hear that, some might go, oh, of course, he just lets his son in. Well, I mean, he was a pretty accomplished studio musician, leading up to that. Is that weird playing with your son?
Well, I didn't play with him when I was growing up. So, well, yeah, with Dax, he was classically trained on piano. So he, from six on till he went to college, and I didn't know that he taught himself guitar, he taught himself drums. And he knew theory, and then he also worked with Dick Dale for 3 years, out on tour around the world with him. So I mean, he learned a lot of bad stuff from him. And
but I meant more, if I was in a band with my dad, it would drive me crazy.
Well, Dax calls me Rick. He calls me Rick. And when we got Dax, we had him before. He's been with us. I think yesterday was 11 years, But he played with us before when Bunny had his back operated on. Dax went out on tour with us, cold, for Aerosmith. He's really young, and he's still young because my kids are younger than I am. That's right. And so
it's weird how that works.
So it is kind of weird, but it's like I said, he calls me Rick, and he didn't get the job because of me, because I was the last guy. I spoke with him about going out with us because it was one day he was going to Europe, and we needed him the next day to go to do South by Southwest, and then the next day do Austin City Limits with no rehearsal. We played those shows. He knows music so well, and plus now we're playing every song at the correct tempo. Yeah, and Robin and Tom, they had to agree it wasn't my choice because I was afraid that it's Rick's kid. No, they picked him. They chose him. I didn't want it to be, well, we had to do it because of Rick. No, it wasn't me, because I'd already recruited, but not for the long run. But Dave Grohl and Chad Smith and Tommy Lee, because they were all available and they all had played with us. One thing here or whatever, and. But they'd overplay us and put us out of the spotlight. So, but so there was other things we could do. But in the long run, we needed somebody that could go, on tour for a long time. That's all we do is tour.
I can imagine after the gig, like going to the hotel bar with my dad, being like, "Dad, you totally fucked up. Don't be cruel tonight." I mean, you totally were. Yeah, I mean, it would just be like,
no, he's just yeah. No, Rick knows when there's a wrong note, and so Rick already. I don't go to the bar anyhow. I used to.
We're fans of this new record, In Another World, that just came out. There's some rockin' songs on there, and I have to give a shout out to Julian Raymond, your producer. He's he's a great guy. I've had a chance to know him here in Nashville. When you guys are putting a record together, like, is it a group decision on what songs make the record?
Good
How
question.
does that work?
Let's see. Well, when we're recording, it's like we don't sequence it or put the whole package together until it's done. Because we had worked on it, but then we added "Summer Looks Good on You" or "Here Comes the Summer," and "Give Me Some Truth." But we didn't have a sequence for it, so we had worked that out, and it was like, and plus we did the one song where you do it twice. It's like we're doing our own stuff. We're copying ourselves. It's like, but we play with a lot of different styles anyhow, just no matter what song it is. So yeah, working with Julian is great because he knows our history, and he's a great songwriter on his own, and musician and all that stuff. And he was lucky. I got. He asked me to play with Glenn Campbell on those last two records with him, and I've done some kind of session work for him. Plus, remember The Bad Actor? I'm a bad actor, so I am in a movie with his son, with Max.
How fun!
I haven't seen it yet. It's the only movie that I'm really good in.
We'll be the judge of that when it comes out. We'll let you know, Rick.
I'll tell you in advance. It's probably not very good. I don't want to.
Well, I know our time's about up. I wanted to ask one last question about the song that sent you to the stratosphere. When you listen to the single could almost be country or bluegrass. I mean, even the leads are just kind of like picking, and it almost sounds like banjo. But that live version was just so electric, and it's just amazing how it's not often that a band gets that much recognition from a live record. What made Budokan so special?
Well, probably the audience, that made it special because we'd had a couple of hits in Japan at that time when we recorded it, where we had none here, and the studio version of "I Want You to Want Me." Remember, I said we'd usually finish and then we'd get on the bus or take off. Right. That was finished after we were done. So it's like I may have brought up using the piano, but it wasn't that honky tonk kind of nonsense on there. We were always a heavier band than that. So it's like, what was it like? Well, I think it's great. You said that the Flame did well, but I think over the long period, I think Want You to Want Me has done more. And we were like, I think they call it turntable hits, like Stairway to Heaven and Freebird or whatever it's like, and Surrender. I mean, it's like everybody thinks it's a big single and all that stuff. It's continued to play for a long time, and so to me. Like even success is not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that's great. But success is then we're still doing what we do, and still having a pretty good time doing it. And I'm talking to you guys, and I did talk to Julian yesterday too. There's a guitar over at Rumble Seat that he thinks I should get.
Still buying guitars.
I just bought one. The one I just showed was playing there. I bought. I was chasing it for over 3 years from Paul Weller from the Jam. It's the same as that one. It's a Dwight cornet, which they made 47 of them in '62.
Oh, wow.
Well, I have to tell you that Barnes and I have been doing radio off and on for years. We've both had the pleasure of playing Cheap Trick throughout your career. And then I took the leap over to country. I'm at CMT, and we were able to do a Crossroads with with Jennifer Nettles.
Jennifer.
Baby, why don't you stay?
So much fun, and you guys were so great, and we have to do another one.
Terrific.
soon.
And it's like there's been Dwight Yoakam's done it. What You Don't Want Me. Taylor Swift has done it. A bunch of people have done that, and then there's some bands like Anthrax. They've done 3 of our songs.
No kidding.
Yeah, and there's a real cool version of Wiedersehen done by the bass player from what's it? Well, look it up. Ellison, I think is his name.
Now, I'm concerned, Rick, because you can remember Aldo Nova opened for you in 1982 in Corpus Christi, Texas, but you're forgetting these people who did these songs. I don't know.
I've done about
so
80,
many people.
80 interviews in the last week and a half. And it's like, I don't remember, what day is it? I have no idea. And
thank you for the time. We really appreciate having you.
You had to rub it in and I couldn't remember.
I know, just giving you a hard time, but you pulled the Aldo Nova out of nowhere.
Well, that's odd.
Congratulations.
Well, go get the record. It's on Spotify, wherever you get your music.
Great.
It's fantastic. I love the new Cheap Trick.
Well, thanks, Leslie, and thanks, Barnes.
Absolutely.
I'll throw you another
Rick
bow
Nielsen.
tie if I can find one. Here, how about
You mean you don't wear those around the house? There you go.
Oh, there you go.
I've got my own.
We need
cooties.
one of those, Barnes.
Yeah.
Thank you,
There's
Rick.
nobody here. All right, you guys.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Rick.